Call the Finance Committee to order. All members are present and accounted for. Before we go to the next item on the agenda, I was approached by the acting city attorney, who said to me, if you want to see my contract, why don't you just ask me for it? And I said, gee, if I'd only known it could be so easy, I would have done that. But then I talked to lawyer friends who do business with government, and they said a contract is available to the public. You don't have to have a closed meeting to see a contract, which is all I really wanted to do. There may be other desires on the parts of other members.
That's up to you. If all you're doing is looking at the contract, that's fine. If you want to discuss it.
Do you want to discuss it too? All right. So
it's what you would like to do.
If you want to, all right. So you would like to discuss it, Alderman Payon.
I thought that's what we were doing.
Well, I only wanted to see it. All right. So we will now move into I can't even read the script. We will now move into special meeting of the Finance Committee.
The whole meeting is called.
We don't do Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Chair.
Just read.
All right.
Just
read that. Okay. So, proposed closed session. The committee will convene an open session, which we have done, and move pursuant to annotated code of Maryland General Provisions, Article 3-305, closed session. The topic to be discussed is the contract between the City of Annapolis and the acting city attorney. So, at this time, I would entertain a motion to move pursuant to the annotated code of Maryland General Provisions, Article 3-305B1, to go into closed session.
Mr. Chair, I'll move we go into closed session.
Second.
All in favor? Do we do a roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
No, it's a roll call.
She's taking notes.
Oh, okay.
Say aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, we are now in closed session. Going to,
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the agenda.
oh, yes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can you tell me what else is on the
I will
agenda?
also move approval of the minutes from April 3rd, 2019.
I don't see those. It doesn't seem to be on my copy
Yeah, I
of the
don't have an
agenda.
attachment. Do we have the update?
Yeah, it's attached on mine. The minutes you're talking about?
3/20/19,
Right.
but you said April.
April 3rd,
I
2019.
don't have,
Yeah, that's 4.
That's 4/3/19. That's Madam Chair, you were, Mr. Chair, you were absent.
Right.
Alderman Payon and I were present, and it
Right.
was just last week, and they are attached.
well, I don't, no, they're not.
Well, we can, I do have them. Do you want to see mine?
You're in, because you're in the wrong finance meeting. Oh, and now it's gonna want you to, you haven't changed your password?
What
Oh.
password?
Oh, we had to redo that
Fred.
yesterday.
Yeah, that's
I
why.
can- You know it, right.
He has to go through the whole thing.
So give it to him,
They
Ross.
can't just do the password?
I don't think so.
I didn't know I ever had a password.
Ross has your password.
I have your password. I can, yeah,
You
I've
gonna
got it.
introduce us to?
Yeah, just trying to.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Katie.
Hi, Katie, nice meeting you.
Is it gonna pop up
Good to see
again?
you
Yeah, I met
again.
her last. I'm sorry.
I think,
Good to see you again.
You too.
I think we should introduce her as part of the agenda, because she's gonna be here with
Right.
us.
Yeah, I was trying to get it to pop up.
Yeah,
Right.
so,
Oh, goody.
4/11. Tomorrow's.
Yeah, but you probably haven't refreshed it, so that's probably why.
Ross, the next thing on the
Right.
agenda is the city attorney contract. So what is it that we're supposed to do?
I don't know. I don't know.
Shouldn't drink ginger ale on
That should have been
TV. That's
changed.
just a warning
Yeah.
for you.
Because it came
Yeah.
under the,
So that's, the city attorney contract
Drink ginger ale, you.
was a topic of a closed session.
It's,
There's no
It's because
agenda.
I'm a Republican.
Are you a
Here.
Republican? I thought you were a Democrat.
Okay. So, you can use mine.
Okay, yeah, this on the agenda, she can,
So,
and then, okay, should have been changed.
I wanted to start a,
Mr. Chair, do we want to approve the minutes, or no? We're gonna skip.
well, I think we'll skip it because Fred doesn't have them and I
Okay.
wasn't here.
Okay,
So we're moving on to a general discussion of the budget.
okay.
So I brought last year's budget, and we have this year's. It's very,
Did you get your capital in there? 'Cause there was
yeah,
a
the capital in the back. I personally have to say I like the layout, and I like the way that we've combined, I will have some comments about it, but we've combined the description of the goals and performance measures and those sorts of things all in one place. So you don't have to flippity-flop back and forth,
We
but
have
I,
dividers, but nothing in them.
well,
good.
that's because they're very efficient.
Okay. But first of all, may I ask our finance director, Ms. Dickerson, to introduce her newest employee who's going to be helping us work through this process.
This is Katie Conley. Katie came in after Melissa left. She came in to work for us as a senior accountant, and she's in charge of capital projects and debt and banking. She does a lot of the banking stuff. What else do you do? Lots of other miscellaneous things, all related to those same areas. But she's very busy, and because she's the capital projects accountant, I had her do the budget for the capital projects, and she participated in the meetings where they were talking about the capital projects. And you didn't do any ratings, right? You didn't do ratings? No, she didn't do the ratings or anything, but just was there and took notes and followed the discussion. And then she and primarily Teresa finished up the capital project book and edited that kind of thing. And so she's been with us since November, so.
Oh, you've just been hiding her.
Yeah.
Okay, well, welcome. Because these meetings are many and the community does follow, I thought it was important that they see the new face and know the new face.
Thank you very much.
So, welcome.
So with permission from my colleagues, I wondered if you could just sort of
Yeah.
walk us through the general construction of
Okay.
the book. It is much more svelte than in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you got last year. That looks pretty intensive there, but
You can see every year.
you may end up with more information
Well, I
in your book.
assume.
And we didn't want to label the tabs for you because I didn't want to label them something you wouldn't want in there. So that's up to you. You can write on those tabs and divide the information how you want to. The capital book was separate, and because we couldn't hole punch it, we would have punched holes through some of the content, so we bound it differently. So that's not in the main part of the binder. The capital book is organized very much like it's been in the past, with a summary schedule up front. You'll notice that we've
By
grouped.
capital, you're talking about the CIP.
Yes,
As
the
opposed to the
capital
capital
budget.
budget.
No, the capital budget and the CIP are both in that smaller book.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about
The-
this.
Yes.
Right,
The
so
capital
that's the
budget is the FY
spreadsheet.
'20 column and the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet has all the years in it, doesn't it?
The capital
Yeah, the-
budget is the FY '20 budget.
Yeah, so,
Capital improvement program is
Is
21,
everything
22,
forward.
23,
Right.
24, and 25.
all right. So
Okay.
that book has
Okay.
been, the projects have been grouped by type, meaning the general city, the water projects, the sewer projects. They're grouped in groups, and within those groups, they're alphabetical, right? So the index should be alphabetical by group.
And then the organization, which, as I said,
So-
I find very facile, is pretty much the same across each of the departments. We have the org chart.
Right. We try
that
to
was
be, yes, we try to be very consistent. The front section has some general information about the city, about our budget process, about the policies. And then we give you some summary tables in the front, summarizing the general fund, the funds with the revenue and expenditures. Then we break into details for each, the general fund and the other funds. And we've got all the funds in there now.
Okay.
So that section is followed then by individual sections for each department.
Right.
And within each department, if we felt one of the smaller funds belonged reporting to that department, we would tuck the expenditure schedule in there for that department. For instance, finance has the self-insurance, the health insurance, and the sprinkler loan fund in there as a part of the Department of Finance.
Now, there is in the general tables a different construction than I've seen in the past, because we have the general fund, then other funds, and as the city manager knows, I didn't remember what PEG stands for, so I had to ask.
It is a separate fund.
But there's some other things in here that haven't really been featured in the past, one of which is this homeowner assistance trust, which I guess I need to be...
It was in the budget last year, correct? It was
Yeah.
part of the budget last year. We had an appropriation for it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to speak, to slow up a bit.
All right.
Okay.
Because I'm
So
still
I'm on the-
looking at the departments
Oh,
from the
okay.
general, but now we've skipped over, without
Well-
dividers, I've got to flip through. So.
Right, so if you go
we'll
to
have
the
go in and
index-
add our own.
Yeah. No. I think if you go
Well,
to...
I mean, it's divided according to the table of contents,
Right.
but the dividers are not in place. So I'm flipping
No,
through.
it's
so-
because they're not doing it that way anymore.
We have page numbers,
Right.
okay? We didn't want to decide what dividers you wanted. So what
There is a list already.
Ross is looking at right now, Ms. Finlayson, is, Ross, are you on
I was
page
on the-
18, 17? What page are you on?
Page 18, the
Page
very
18.
first.
Okay.
But I jumped ahead, and I'm sorry. So I want
Well,
to make sure we all get up on the same page.
So we have our table of contents, which
Right.
in my mind, are our dividers.
Well, okay, but it's
And
all here.
It's all here, but I gotta find it, okay? So I was still looking through this document,
Yeah.
which is,
That's the old cumbersome way of,
well, I don't know whether it's
Doing it.
cumbersome or not, but I, you know.
okay. Well, that's all
But
we need to
we're
make.
on page 18 now, is where you would,
Well, that's where I had jumped ahead, but maybe
Okay.
I shortcutted opportunity for Alderman Payon and for you to discuss the general. I was going from the general format, which, really, for me, just everything is right there when you go to look to each department. You've got the organization chart, you've got the discussion of things that are going on new, you see who the staff are, and I have a question about the grade. Why does everything have a 7 at the end?
Okay, so our grades, if you have a grade 14-7, that means that that's grade 14 and they work on a 7-hour schedule. There are some employees that work on a 7-hour-a-day schedule and some work on an 8-hour-a-day schedule. If there's an
okay,
8 at the end, it's an 8-hour employee.
and
All
what
right.
about public safety, who may be on a 12?
They're
Is that
they're
not-
going to have a P or a F in
F,
front of
right.
their,
Okay.
Well, and that's all what we were talking about with the, where we find things. I'm gonna add my tabs, because it's a lot easier for me to look for the tab instead of go back to the table of contents to get a page
Sure.
number. But you go
Well,
right on.
what I was, for me, what's easier is just carrying the damn thing.
Well,
I'm sure we'll load it up
you
with other
haven't
stuff.
gotten any information you're gonna request yet.
Oh,
so-
yes, I do. I have a list right here,
Well,
but
you have a list, but you don't have.
That's-
some of
okay.
them already have
that's
lists.
primarily what we thought the tabs would be for. As you ask for extra information, we give it to you. You can create a tab and stick it in there behind that.
So
Okay.
again, looking at, and I'm sorry, Fred, I jumped ahead. So there's questions you want to ask about the general format of the book or the content of the book?
No.
All right.
Would-
So what was new to me was the way the revenue and expenditure table was constructed with general fund. Usually we then went to enterprise funds, and a lot of these things that are now featured right up front were on page 117 of the
Okay.
pro forma. But I did have some questions about these because they are so forward. And the homeowner's assistance, because it was big, was one of the ones that jumped out at me. The homeowner's assistance trust is what?
I'm not going to be able to tell you
That's-
specifically what it does.
It's when
but-
developers pay a fee in lieu of constructing MPDUs, and they are required to be used for restricted purposes
Okay, that's,
related to homeownership assistance.
That's
It's in the
big.
code, it's been there for, as far as I know, a long time. So in FY19, all of these funds were budgeted,
yep,
with the exception of Community Legacy,
Which
which
is the
in
next question.
19 got buried in community development, and it shouldn't be. It's a Teresa Wellman program, but it is different than federal community development block grant
the
funds.
CBG.
So we broke it out separately.
Well, may I ask which of these, I think it's the Homeowner Assistance Trust that she has used, Ms. Wellman, to assist seniors in their aging homes?
That's the that's probably Community Legacy.
No, I think it's, Community
It
Legacy
depends.
was something,
So we will
but what
put
I'd
on your
like to see
schedule for
is,
Teresa to come explain
Yeah.
each of her programs, which fund they're in, and what each program does.
what I'd like to see is what was there before,
In,
in that line item, the Home Assistance Trust.
okay,
Because I know that she has been, and something occurred recently where she was doing some work in the
so
community.
because
with
that
some-
program is under Teresa Wellman, and Teresa Wellman is under Planning and Zoning, I can go to Planning and Zoning, and I can tell you, this is on page,
Let's see, do you want me to go back to the table of
Go
contents?
back to your tab.
We're so organized.
it's kind of alphabetical too, so. In
Starting
in-
at 69.
In fiscal year 19, they had a budget of $808,877, page 72. And this year, her budget is 849,388.
We're on page 72?
So this
Correct.
year it was
This-
808,
808,
and it's going to
877.
849?
Correct.
And that is because of revenue that has been collected from developers?
Yes.
Okay. And the community, well, I'm sorry. Did
No,
you
go
get what
ahead.
you
That
need?
was going to be the
The
next question.
community legacy is different. Is that new?
No.
No.
It's
Okay.
been around. So Community Legacy goes back many years. It was a grant we got for initiatives in the Clay Street area. And when we completed those initiatives, we still had money, and they said, go ahead and keep it. But you still have to use it, you know, we want you to use it for those same kinds of purposes. So it's been around for many, many years. And Teresa could more specifically tell you what it has paid for, what its what her plans are for next year. I know last year she had given a very detailed schedule to Alderwoman Henson because the community development stuff is reviewed by that Housing and Human Welfare Standing Committee. And so there had been a breakdown of all of Teresa's programs, what was in CDBG, what was in Community Legacy, and she had broken down all of her programs.
And I don't know if anybody recalls, earlier this year, since I've been here, we came to you with a supplemental allocation to spend some of this money for a couple of 2 or 3 projects that she had it earmarked for, to utilize some of these funds.
That's what I recall.
Yeah, and I can't remember the particulars, but there's specific community projects she was using it for.
So all of these funds, like go to forfeiture and asset and seizure, those were things that sort of showed up in those other pages in the old pro forma, and we're formally keeping, so when we did one of these seizures or whatever, it would just go into the general fund someplace, but now we're actually keeping track of all of these. How do we spend money out of asset seizure,
Yes, we do, and it has...
but only for certain things?
Yes, and this is a fund that is monitored and controlled by the police department. So in the police department section of this book, you will find a table that shows more details on what on how the layout on what they're spending, what they plan to spend next year. And this has always been a separate fund for accounting purposes, but in the past it was rolled into the general fund, and now we're breaking out and tracking it separately because it is restricted to certain purposes.
Okay, so every one of these funds are restricted for various purposes? And that's why they're
Yes.
shown separately and
Yes, they're all
independent?
separate funds now.
All right, and then we have this big block of grants, which now, in this construction, we have a whole set of tables that break out grants in a great deal of detail.
Yes, and that's on page, it starts on 28, I think.
Well, 22 is
20,
the
okay.
fund summary. Oh, that's the general fund summary.
That's the general
Grants,
fund.
Grants, you're right. General fund.
27.
Yeah, you're right. Grant summary. Page 29 to page 28.
27 is the revenue,
20
page 28
right.
and 29
Right.
are the expenditures.
So that was always incredibly hard to keep track of the grants. So again, from my perspective, and I'll let my colleagues weigh in, this is nice to be able to kind of see it all.
We think it looks a lot better. I mean, it's easy, once you know the organization of the book, you can get more detail, and more detail at just a glance. You may decide you want to see more breakouts or some kind of analysis, and that's what you have to ask us for, and we'll try to prepare something.
And then we have the internal service funds, which again, we've always had, but now they're broken out, and unfortunately, one of them, the self-insurance, shows a big negative number here, which I guess we're going to want to talk about when we get
Yeah.
to that point.
We'd be happy to explain that to you. I want to emphasize that all of these that have a negative balance where the revenues are in excess of, are less than the expenditures, it is either pay-go funding from the Capital Reserve Fund, the use of one-time monies that were in excess of budget stabilization to used for one-time expenditures.
Right.
It's restricted monies, for example, in the reforestation fund, the critical area tree money we've collected.
Right.
It's not deficit spending. We've collected it for trees in the critical area. We have to appropriate it to spend it. And if we don't, it just sits and we don't have any trees. And then in the self-insurance fund, we put in, we estimate what the claims are going to be at the end of fiscal year 2020. That's the amount of cash we should have accumulated. So we start with where we think we're going to be at the end of this year. We know what our estimated expenses are going to be next year, and we put cash in to make sure at the end of 2020 we have the appropriate amount of reserves for our estimated claims. It comes from the actuary.
So you already know me too well because I was working my way down to that bottom number on the right-hand side.
Right.
Can we slow up before we get down there?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to follow this, and I'm on page 18 and on page 19. And I was going to ask about all the negatives on page 18. And then I looked over on page 19 to see the actual and the budgeted amount. So let's look at the self-insurance line on both. And I'm trying to figure out, I guess it's the revenue page, which is the actual, 2.5 million.
And the next one is the expenditure.
And then the next column is the original budgeted amount, which is 2.7. And then it was adjusted, that was the same, which is unusual. And then what is proposed for this year?
Right.
Okay.
But-
and then I go to page 18.
Okay.
Okay. Which is revenues and expenditures.
Right.
And I see the 2.4. And then the proposed expenditure, which,
So if you go to page 20, you'll see the proposed expenditures.
So page 18 is the revenues, the expenditures, and how it affects fund balance.
Right. So
Page
that's just for
19 is the
2020.
revenue. So the
Right.
far column on page,
Right.
on page 19 should equal the first column on page 18.
got it.
The far column on page 20
Right.
is the budgeted appropriations. It should equal the second column on page 18. So 18 is a summary, 19 and 20 give you more detail. Because they give you 18 actual, 19's budget, and 20's budget.
That's the amount that corresponds to the detail or the overall summary on page 20 of the expenditures.
$45 million budget I mentioned to you.
Right. Well, but Teresa, we're going to get it.
But I'm seeing different numbers on this page.
No, no,
I see the
that's it.
proposed.
This is only 2020.
Right.
This is only 2020.
Okay.
So this number, all of these numbers should match this.
Okay, so,
And all of these numbers should match this. So this is the summary. This is just giving you a history, because this is just 2020.
Right.
This is giving you the history of 18, 19, and 20.
okay, and this is giving me 18, 19,
And 20.
and 20.
For
But these
expenditures.
numbers aren't the same.
This is FY 18. You don't have 18 over here.
No, but I have it over here,
This is
right?
But that's
revenue,
revenue.
right? So my revenue and my expense numbers aren't going to be the same in my actual.
Okay, so my revenue here is 2.581. And then that's 18. And my expenditure is 3.3, which will supposedly equal the,
No.
No.
so where's the,
This 2485 for FY 20 minus this 4084380 for FY 20 equals that.
Right. So the first page, page 18, is only showing us 20 with revenues and expenditures and surplus or deficit beside each other. Pages 19 and 20 give us some sense of where we were the last couple of years, and also shows us, I assume the adjusted 19 is to bring it up to year-to-date or something like
the
that.
adjusted
no, because
19
that's the
is the
same
budget
as the
you've adopted.
original.
The 19 adjusted is the budget you've adopted, and any changes
Changes to the budget.
that you've made through supplemental appropriations,
Right.
fund
Right.
transfers.
Bring us up to
etc.
date for the budget column,
Right.
right?
So 19 isn't the actual. 19 is, well, I
Budget.
guess the adjusted budget amount is the actual,
Well, so far.
19 The 19.
so far, for 19,
It's
for
the
2019.
budget so far. It's the budget as you have legally adopted it. So it's what you adopted starting July 1st and any changes you have made since July 1st that you have approved.
So we started at the 137.6 million, and we have made changes throughout the year, so now.
So you just dropped down to the bottom line?
Well, I always start at the bottom line.
Well, you're gonna have to get me to the bottom line, I'm sorry.
I'm just-
'Cause and I see what you're saying, I just,
Yeah. No,
okay.
first of all, this is so much clearer, a presentation, but we got to get used to the new presentation. Believe me, my eyes boggled when I saw the minus 5.3 billion. But we got to get through the book and figure out what actually constitutes this. But this is just giving us the big summary on page 18, and then some history of the big summary on 19 and 20. And then we're going to go on and start getting into the breakdown. So 22 starts with the breakdown of general fund revenue, and then 24, one of my first requests, don't let Teresa hear this. Can we see these pie charts in color? And then we get into the expenditure by detail. So I think for this meeting, I think it's kind of a time for us to get acclimated. The numbers are the same in the sense they were there before, but the presentation is different. And that's why I wanted to just take some time to walk through so we understand what we're looking at. I think I know I will be coming back to some of these pages with much more specific questions. But I think right now it's just to walk through, understand what we're given. Yes, Ellie,
I just had a quick question, so I understand.
you have your mic on?
I do, hello there, yes, I do. So, on page 19, when you go from the fiscal year 2019 original to the adjusted budget, the vehicle for those additions have been the supplementary allocations that you do prior to the city council meetings, right? Where you have a fiscal analysis and you said, this is what we're doing, we're adding here.
Yes.
And then you very succinctly say, this does not change the bottom line, or you do say this does add to the budget. That's, is that how that, do I have that wrong? Teresa's shaking her head. What?
You're talking fiscal notes that go with legislation?
No, I'm talking about,
The
obviously
supplemental,
went up.
the GTs, the SAs.
What's the vehicle to adjust the budget?
The
Is it
GTs,
and SAs, correct.
And it could be, if it's less than 25,000 within a fund, something
something
that
that
I've
she-
done,
that she
that you get in the city manager
So that's how those are
reports.
all tracked, and, okay, so I knew
Right.
that, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure.
I think the easiest example to see is if you go to the grant fund, because you've gotten a ton of supplemental.
Or transportation is the big,
Or
the big nut.
transportation.
That's where you see it, and that was like the last adjustment we made, transportation.
Yeah.
And we approved those at city council meetings.
So on page 20,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth line from the bottom, you'll see transportation's original budget was $3,706,000, and the adjusted budget is $5.6 million.
Yeah.
We've gotten grants and we've appropriated them.
And
Yeah.
when we get further back in the book to transportation, we'll find out.
Well, we've approved it at city council
We don't
meetings,
hash
so-
out in the book what happened in 19.
Okay.
You've approved 19. It's a done deal. Time to hash that out was when it was before you.
Yeah, all right.
If there's a question about how those numbers changed, we have the history
Yeah.
on
Right.
which transfers. There's smaller transfers that we do just in finance between operating line items that are much smaller and much less significant too.
But the interesting thing, if anybody finds numbers interesting, is if you just look at that, in 18, transportation was at 6.3. We budgeted 3.7. We've gotten adjustments for grants and other things, I assume, maybe some transfers. And so, but we're still not back up to the 18 level. We're significantly lower.
Because we don't do the gold and yellow route anymore.
We don't.
We don't do those two bus routes anymore.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But
That's-
does it not supplement the fare box at all? I
You're not-
thought that's what the
If you're
big,
not running the buses, you don't.
Does what
Flip
not
theirs.
supplement the fare box? I don't,
Well, our fare box doesn't meet the, what is it, 35% threshold. So we're supplementing it. So in 18, we were at 6.3, but then we dropped down to 3.7 in 19.
18 is the audited actual expenditure.
Right.
19 is what we budgeted, and then there's an adjustment of some $2 million.
And maybe that's in, somewhere in the explanation.
No,
to-
Teresa was just saying, in response to my observation, it's not, because this budget book's all about 20. But then Jody said if we need to have the history of what happened in 19, we can ask for it.
I guess what we need to know is why we needed 6.3 in 18 and only thought we could get by with 3.7 in 19.
Because
And even with the grants that we received, we were still
All right.
less than the,
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of background first on grants. For as far as 19 is concerned, they weren't putting in grants unless they knew the amount that they were getting. So we would set up the budget, and then we would get additional grants and come to you and appropriate them. So those are situations where we got grants, we got more grants, we come to you, you approve them,
okay.
and then that increases the number to the adjusted budget. When you're looking at 18 overall to 19 and overall to 20, that's a general loss of revenue and expenses in that fund because of the programmatic changes in the bus routes and what has happened, like she was saying, you don't do a gold and whatever it was, line anymore. That's going to decrease the amount of funding from the revenue side and from the expense side.
Okay, and I understand now that you put it like that, that we weren't including grant funding in this
budget.
19 budget. And so with that, even though it's still less, it brings us up far closer to what was going to be our actual for 19, or what
Correct.
will be our actual for,
But 20 is
19.
less also because we discontinued those lines.
Yes,
But-
it's still less because they're doing fewer bus routes.
Right.
yeah,
And we're getting
Okay.
less
There's a lot of
revenue.
moving parts
okay.
behind all of that.
thank you.
Okay, so again, just sort of running through the general review of the format, I would note in passing on page 23 is the first time I saw where we're not getting the $367,000 from the state. I also didn't understand small amount of money, but why we're not getting fuel, the $2,000 is also a blank. I'm sort of in the middle of the page on the right-hand side of page 23, but that's the first time that shortfall shows up.
Where's the 300 and
Look on page 20 in the middle.
payment in lieu of taxes? I see it.
23, in the middle, on the right-hand
here.
side of the page, you can see in 19, and all the years prior, we got the 367.
Right.
This year, we didn't.
Okay.
Flipping
fuel,
back
that's what you
for
were
a
pointing at, the
minute,
fuel, yeah.
when's the first time we see the shortfall? I guess that's when we get into the revenue detail, right. So that's when we see the shortfall in the income tax, right? Somewhere. Page 22?
Page 22 and 23 is a breakdown of the general fund revenue.
Right. But where's the personal income tax?
income tax is 2 lines above the fuel line that you were looking at for $2,000.
I'm sorry, where is it?
2 lines
Income.
above the fuel line that Ross was looking at. It's on page 23,
Right,
under the heading intergovernmental, the 4th line down.
right. So that, we were thinking we were going to get 8 million and 19, now we're thinking we're going to get, and I assume we've kind of firmed that up, that that's going to be the correct number, the 6.3 million?
Yes, that is our best estimate right now. We have one more distribution coming before the end of the year,
Right.
so we'll see where that ends up.
So that was not a good surprise. All right. So then we go
There
on
was
to
another
the,
item,
oh, okay.
that was a big difference. I'm looking, I can't find it now.
So looking at page 20, the revenue summary, general fund summary, the revenue. Revenues, though, even with that hit, are pretty flat. When you look at 18 through 20, we're down a little bit, but they're fairly flat. Not a lot of growth in overall revenue, which is not a happy.
You said page 20, what's your?
I'm sorry, I keep misspeaking it. I'm looking at 22 and 23. I'm sorry. So if you look at the bottom of page 23, where we're showing the revenue over time, 18, 19, 19 adjusted, and 20, for the general fund, we're not getting much growth there in revenues. Then we go on to the general fund expenditure detail. Why am I talking? You should be taking us through.
Well, we thought the meeting today was simply to schedule your series of meetings.
Oh,
That's what the agenda said.
I'll be glad to walk you through it quickly, but it might help after you know where everything is, if you take a few days
Right.
to kind of peruse through the detail and see what kind of questions you come up with.
yeah, and again, I'm winging it, so please weigh in. I thought it would be good to walk through because it is a different format, just so that we know how we're looking at the budget this time.
Well, I think it's very helpful for us to figure out how this book is set up so that we can
Okay.
look through it. And I'd like to reiterate, we need color pie charts. I'm guessing that the big chunk is taxes,
Or-
and I'm guessing that, but.
Or you can send me the software, I'll print it out on my.
Yeah,
Medium gray,
we'll do
dark gray.
color. We're just trying to save money
Just
where we
those
can.
sheets. We don't
The
need
Office of
everything.
Finance doesn't have a printer that prints in color.
We have one, but it's
Well,
in
then
somebody's
she can
office.
send
You'll have them
Your
come
office.
upstairs and take care of it.
Well, or
Absolutely.
send it to me and I'll print it on my printer at home.
Okay.
I'll bring in 3 copies.
Ooh,
Yeah, right. The only thing about the agenda is that I know that my colleagues would be here if they knew that you were going to go over the budget. We saw that it was just scheduling of meetings, but that's okay. It's televised, right?
It's televised, and I'll be
Okay.
glad to sit with anybody that wanted to flip through it and
Okay.
get an
Yeah.
idea of what's in there.
I just
Okay,
wanted to
thank
do
you.
a little bit more of it because I wanted to get into one of the departments, just to talk about the new format, and also because this document lays out, I'm just jumping ahead quickly to page 43, it lays out the proposed changes that we're talking about making in terms of the organization. And I'm presuming that the budget is cast, I don't know if there's much difference in expenditures, but it's cast based on the new organization.
Yes, then the way that we've shifted employees and positions between the departments, yes, it's laid out with that new formation.
Right. So the 20, in the 20s up through 27, or 26, we're getting the general fund, like the early pages of the old pro forma. Then we get into all of this grant revenue detail, which I have admitted to skimming, but want to go back and
So
look
note
at.
that the grants, whenever we list those grants, we're breaking it up into federal, state, county, and other.
Right.
So you'll see the revenues and the expenditures broken into those different categories.
And we can see the short history over time, so we can see what's going up, what's going down, which is always helpful. Then we get to page 33 with the FTEs in aggregate. Well, it's not FTEs. That was one of my questions. These are actual employee counts, right? So some of
Yes,
these can be
position
part-time and
counts,
seasonal.
yes. Some
So
of,
while this says 600 and,
well, this
12.
is only elected, exempt, civil service, and contract. It does not include temp employees.
oh, it does not?
No, this is,
Okay. All right, so how would we get an FTE equivalent
We're
of,
working with Barb to do that. Barb
Okay.
Smith, we have the same issue we had last year. Our human resources system does not generate that information.
I didn't see an upgrade of that when I looked at their performance measures. Are we talking about doing that?
No?
No, all right. So, but these numbers are reallocated post-reorganization?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just need to know.
I will point out that when you get into the individual departments and you look at those position tables, you will see what the count is in 19 and what the count is in 20. So when there's switches, you'll
Right.
see that, 0,
Right.
1, 1, 0, if somebody's moving from one place to another.
Yep,
So if you want to see the detail of the movement, you'll see it there.
okay.
And in each case, it's described in narrative under the position table.
All right, I did skip over one very important. Where was that? Oh yeah, page 21. The fund balance is
There's
something,
nothing on 21.
So that's because it's not ready right now.
Right.
If you recall, last night, we had that big supplemental allocation. I have, in order to do this fund balances summary, I have to know what the projections are for this year. And the adjusted budget, I would like to show the adjusted budget adjusted for those supplemental allocations. And then we'll prepare detailed projections for 19
that was one of my
and the
other-
fund balance projected at the end of the year. So
Right.
we're not quite there yet. I have some more review to do, and I wanted to include these changes that we've just done.
Right. So, and the projections was another thing that I had on my list of things, because to the extent that we have
That's why you're 0.
a deficit, and we need to project out to see what we're thinking we're going to be able to do about that. I haven't,
So the deficits that you're referring to, if you're referring to that first table,
Yeah,
those
I
are
hope-
all planned use of fund balance that's already
Right.
existing, not
So-
what we project to year
okay.
end.
So,
And I would want to put on the record very clearly, right now, there is no projected deficit in fiscal year 19. There is no projected deficit for fiscal year 20. The reason the fund balance tables aren't in here is because we were waiting to see, it made no sense to prepare them before you had moved the 1.2 million out of labor reserve and VEBA. Because otherwise you would have had a 19 budget, you'd have had expenditures by department that were way more than that, with this lump sum down at the
Right.
bottom that remained unspent.
right.
So now that that passed on Monday night, we'll develop the fund balance summary, we'll give it to you. But there is no deficit in fiscal year 19, there is no deficit in fiscal year 20.
I'm very glad to hear that, and I wasn't going to say that there was, because I figured there's pieces that we hadn't seen yet. So I was content to wait to see that all fall in place. But you can see where that number would look pretty sensational if someone, that 5.3 million, if someone looked at it not understanding. So, all right. I don't know how much, we do need to get to the scheduling, but I did want to take an opportunity to look at just one of the departments that, so we skip through all of these summary things and now start to get into the meat of it. So I've jumped ahead to page 41 unless there's,
Which department are you going to use as
well,
a
I'm just
sample?
starting with the first one, which is the city council and the mayor.
Okay.
And again, I like, and this was a source of confusion over time, I like the idea of starting with this
Org chart.
org chart. Yeah, it's great. And then the description right here, so we don't have to flip back and forth between various documents.
If I could point out, because I know that org charts were an issue last year, and the city, this does reflect the reorganization, and the org chart is to be submitted to the city council. So on the fourth page after the table of contents is the citywide org chart. So you can go
Yes.
from the citywide org chart,
Right.
and then when you go back to each department,
Yeah.
for example, if you go, to the finance department, their org chart will start with city manager, finance, and then it'll have these functions that are listed on this front page.
Yes, thank you, and I did notice that. But you're right, that there's this, I mean, I think the wealthiest source of information for the city finances is the CAFR because of all of the definitions and everything. But this is now, I think, becoming a document that's going to be very user-friendly for people who don't know Annapolis and strangely want to come and look at our numbers and our boards and commissions and everything else. I just wanted to go through this one, and again, this is a matter of organization. So we start off with the organization chart, and we discuss the descriptions of various things, including descriptions of the municipal powers. We get into description of the council, the city manager, and all of the things that are included in this particular department. So there's definitions of things that are done. Then we get into the people counts and the grades. I didn't see any A16-8s, but I'll look for that now because I was wondering why everything had a 7. So if you look at Chief of Staff, A16-7, I'm on page 43, the very first grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
I just flipped quickly, and if you look at the Department of Public Works,
Right.
on 95, they have some people that are on the 8-hour schedule.
Okay.
It's going to be more the labor and trades kind of positions that
Right.
are on the 8-hour scale.
Yeah, okay.
What else?
So I didn't, now you know I didn't get that far in the budget.
Yes, okay.
So, but that was why I was wondering why all these 7s were showing up. And then there's
Okay, so Public Works is 8.
every grade in the grade column, it'll have the A and then the actual level and then a 7, which is,
Copy, by the way, of the A grades.
The resolution was introduced on Monday night.
so we have to go there and print it out. Was going to ask the same thing and then I figured, oh, I better go check the legislation.
A lot of 8s.
There are some interesting information on 45 that we'll come back to, including our now all-time favorite word, dysposia, which I asked Eric Evans on the, pardon me? Diaspora, whatever.
Diaspora, yes.
Yeah, diaspora. But this is a nice set of information. It's good to know. Then this one doesn't. Oh yeah. So we go through descriptions, we go through counts, we go through budget amounts, we go through some enhancement requests, and then for every one of them in various forms, we have performance measures for every department. I would argue these aren't measures, but I noticed in some of the departments, HR was the first one, they actually have a mission description, and then they have some, what I would call more like objectives. I only saw 1 or 2 actual measures, so I don't know whether that's a future enhancement that we can expect, but that's how we know whether or not, to me, a performance measure is, did you get the job done?
So, Alderman Arnett, these are what you approved by resolution.
Could be. We may need a new resolution.
So we have taken what you
but-
approved by resolution and put them in the budget book, because that's what the code says we do, that we submit
Right.
the statements to you, you approve them by resolution, they are incorporated into the budget. So this is the
okay.
first year that's happened. My understanding is since Dennis Callahan was mayor.
No, actually, we had it under Ellen Moyer. They had a
Okay,
whole...
whatever, it's been a long time.
A long time,
Right.
right. And this is
And-
a
Right, so
step
when we
back.
put this out and it came back from the departments, they each took a different approach. I
Right.
would like to have a more uniform approach next year. We're not changing anything this year.
Right, okay, that's fine. I'm just noting for the record.
Yep.
And I think we're of the same mind on that. So then there, and again, throughout this, when you go like to page 51, there's a discussion of the reorganization. There are some things that when we get back to going into detail, as Alderwoman Tierney points out, I think our colleagues were not expecting us to get into detail today, and I don't think we have time to do that anyway. But that's more or less the layout of the rest of the, as far as I got anyway, of all of this book, which, again, I will say I found to be quite helpful. You go to page 87, Office of Emergency Management, you see the organization, you see the staffing, you see the budget, you see the performance measures, ba-dunk, ba-dunk, ba-dunk. I don't know whether you want to get into the capital today, or do you want to get to discussing the how we're going to establish our work effort.
Is it different from, and it doesn't appear to be in a different format, but correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's the same format.
It's similar. It's very similar. There's a few new things in there. We took out things we thought didn't belong or weren't helpful, and
we added what I think is a very important section on each capital project page. On the right side, we have changes from the prior year. Okay. So you got your little picture in the upper right corner, and below it, it has changes from the prior year. So if there's a change in the status, the funding, the scope, or the timing, we are pointing it out to you so that you don't fail to miss it.
Thank you. Okay, but again, I only quickly perused this, and things that I had questions about had more to do with crosswalks between the Eastport Forest Drive sector study and the investments in here for that. The investments, I see investments that I asked for 3 stoplights. I didn't see any investments for, new investments for sidewalks. And so I think those are, I know Alderman Payon and I have had discussion about it, and also Alderwoman Pindle Charles and I about sidewalks, and you and I just had it about walking Forest Drive. So, but we have to be mindful of our cap on the ability to make new investments. So,
I do have a question, and I'm looking at page 24, which is the Spa Road Public Works Facility. And there's a notation about it being on hold. If we approve this capital improvement plan as written, will we be able to come back next year or next month or in 3 months, let's say, and restore this? I mean,
it's not, you're not taking anything away. The appropriations are all still there and can be spent at any time.
Okay.
The description of it being on hold for any reason does not legally mean you can't move forward with it. The appropriations are there.
Okay.
And I would also note, you're going to, so as you look at this, you're not only going to read that changes from the prior year, right? Read the project description on every one of them. So nobody says later, oh, I didn't know that was there. Okay, so please read the project description.
we'll say that.
And so in this case, we've noted that where the replacement facility is built is contingent on negotiations with the owners of parcels on Forest Drive that might be exchanged for the property on Spa Road. Therefore, the total project cost will likely change. So we're pointing out to you, you have $5.8 million in prior approved funds, but when this is ironed out, one way or the other,
right,
the total project cost is likely to change.
Let me suggest that that is a message that needs to be sent across the hall. We get that.
And so does the mayor.
Right.
Okay.
But again, I think I think these documents are very fair. They're talking about the changes. I will take to heart your urging us to read the details. I think for some of us who have read them for so many years, we figure I know what that one is. So we'll go back and give them the scrutiny that they deserve. All right. So,
Schedule.
yes. We have a very short window. I will tell you now that one of the things, and we probably will need the Office of Law back for this, but not clear to me that we take full advantage of fees And I think that the reason for that is we've been told in the past that fees can only be charged in the amount that covers our costs plus some margin or whatever. I'm not sure I think that's correct anymore, but I think that it is one of the sources of revenue that we need to go back and look at, because as I noted to you, for the general fund at least, our revenue has been stagnant. And we will get a little boost next year because the state will be giving us that pilot. I hope the income tax revenue comes back, but we need to be worrying about revenue. Development is one potential source of new revenue. Fees, reexamine of those is another potential, and I don't know that we can do it for this budget exercise, but I do want to come back and explore that. We never leave time. Fees and fines and the CIP are usually done in 45 minutes because we don't have any time left because we got to write the report. And I just want to note that I'd like to reserve time in our schedule to spend a little bit more time thinking about those than we normally do in the process. So with that, I have not been for a long time a big fan of having the departments come in and give us a dog and pony show of what they do. What they do is important, and to the extent that that gives that public exposure, that may be a good thing, but I'd rather have time to talk to them about the specifics of the budget and the performance and enhancements and those sorts of things. Although, again, I don't know how much wiggle room we have in this budget for enhancements, but that's sort of my going-in bias.
Do we have their enhancements other than what's been included in the
I
mayor's
saw
budget?
some enhancements.
What's described in the budget book are the enhancements that are included in the mayor's proposed budget. So if an enhancement wasn't included, you don't have it. Do you want all of the enhancements that were requested?
I think that's what we get asked for, to have
Yep.
all of their.
Okay, we'll provide that.
Thank you.
So are you saying that you do want the committees to, or the directors to come, or you don't want them to?
I don't want them to come feeling that they have to tell us what Parks and Recs does.
Oh, okay.
Parks and
we might
Recs
know
is
that.
one that I definitely want to talk to because there's some big changes in expenditures. So I think those are the kinds of things I'd prefer, which to me means that we need to do the work in advance of telling the departments what we'd like to talk to them about, instead of just having them show up and figure they have to occupy some time.
Okay. So we want Parks and Recs to come in. Anybody else particularly?
Well, I was hoping that we would do some analysis of the budget to figure out. You know, I've looked at, fire had a big increase in the budget. I want to know why. I assume we are definitely going to want to talk about the reorganizations and those sorts of things. Is there something?
Our city staff has already started a
Aren't
schedule
they
for
wonderful? Good.
Mr. Chair, I would want all department heads to come in. I think that we can always call them off as need be, but I think they are an enormous amount of information about the budget, and I would prefer to have them on the schedule and then call them off if we don't need them.
Where's the schedule that you're looking at?
attached
Attached or what?
to ID 432. You can turn on your mic and speak. Speaking in mic.
All right.
Not that I won't deliver the message.
I will tell you,
What's
Alderman
it attached
Payo,
to?
to the thing you can't get to, Granicus.
Why can't I get to it? I don't.
Because you're a Republican, Fred. You already said that. Come
I
on.
legislate changed the
Kidding, if anybody heard.
code word
Real world.
requirements. So when you go into Granicus, you have to, it'll ask you for your code word.
I'm not aware of that, and this is the first time
Well,
it's ever
I
done
can tell
that.
you what the code is if you want to.
I can tell you, I never use Granicus.
I hate
have
it.
no code. I
I-
never use it. I go to annapolis.gov, government, city council, and then I can see
But that's not
agendas and I can click on them. I
get-
never use
I get
Granicus.
the agenda in my mail, and I can get it on this right here.
Okay,
I use this as little as possible. It's inefficient.
outline 8 dates.
It's just lousy. I mean, it's
Here's
outdated.
your
and
password.
Let's see. Okay.
Is this booted up?
What's today, Wednesday? Okay, for the record, I am out of town on a conference from the 23rd to the 28th,
Enter your passcode. I'll show you how I
April.
Well, that'll make our meetings much more efficient.
Yeah, right. Go for it. You can have all of them that week. I'm
Yeah, I use-
upset.
I go through 3 sets of this every time I turn it
Did that
on.
Monday, the 22nd, but I have to be at my conference on Tuesday. Right. That's right. Is the city closed? Oh, okay.
So, but
We don't
Is this-
celebrate Easter Monday.
your pen or my, Sheila's pen?
Just saying, we don't. Are schools closed?
For what?
Easter Monday, she was, I
Oh.
was saying the 22nd, I'm here, so that's a Monday.
Yeah.
It's the
I-
day after Easter, yeah.
I am not a fan of the departments showing up and we figure out what we want to talk to them about. I would much rather that we do them the courtesy of figuring out in advance what we want them to talk about so they have the opportunity to prepare.
We're not courteous, we're the finance committee.
Well, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf.
Well, we have plenty of time to prepare our questions for them in advance. If we look at the schedule that's, Ms. Green has prepared for us, you know, we can talk about what we want them on our second meeting or even our third meeting. If in actuality, we need 10 meetings.
So
But
this
we-
is a schedule for the departments. We certainly need to schedule.
It's more than the departments.
Scroll up. Do you see all of them? Starting with the overview of budget
I don't-
ordinance?
Mine doesn't look like that.
You know, what is wrong with you two guys? Really?
What is it you have?
It's what's attached.
Oh, yeah, okay, I have that. What do you mean scroll
Starts
up?
with ordinance, because I didn't think you could see the top.
Oh.
Because the first one is the ordinance and the legislation. Doesn't start till the department's down here on the fourth meeting.
Well, what it also doesn't have, though, is that what we need at the end, which is the development. We have to have time to develop the report.
Okay, so one,
Those are left like that.
oh,
Where is it?
next page gives
Next
us
page.
blank
Oh.
ones we fill in.
Oh, okay, all right. So, Takia, since you've clearly looked at this, we have to deliver our report to the council second meeting in May?
May 28th.
May 28th. So we need to work back, we need to give.
No, I'm sorry.
May
It'll be
28th is
June
a
10th.
Tuesday.
No, their report is in the first, what's the budget book say? It's the first Monday in May.
That's what I
No,
thought.
it's not. The first Monday in May is the 6th.
Yeah, 'cause we
Which
have
is
to-
less than a month away.
No, I think,
First meeting.
yeah, first
in May.
meeting in May, right.
So that's the
That's the
13th?
What is going on here? Month.
Why-
That's, yeah, May 13th.
May 13th.
But
is-
why? Why then?
Because we have to, because the council then has to have time. The G4 needs time to come up and come up with the
Stop.
real.
Would you stop, please? When's the public hearing on the budget?
Which is the first meeting in May.
So that's the public hearing.
Now, May is,
That's when you have to give your recommendation.
May 28th.
When is the,
May-
pub-
May
when is the
13th.
public
That's
hearing?
the second, you said the second meeting in May?
No,
Second Monday in May.
Oh,
which
Monday,
is the
Monday.
first meeting in May.
May 13th.
So
Yeah.
you're saying that the budget hearing is on the,
The regular meeting is May
22nd?
13th, the first
Right.
regular meeting of May.
Okay, so when is the council's public hearing on the budget?
April 29th.
April 29th.
When is the second meeting in May?
May 28th.
No, May 28th is a Tuesday. Oh, it's a
Exactly.
holiday.
Yes,
It's a
it
Monday
is.
holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All
So
right.
the expectation is the council's going to deliberate on the budget on the 28th?
No,
The budget amendments are on June 10th.
June 10th, yes.
No, that's not my question. When is the council expected to approve their budget, our budget?
You are expected to adopt all amendments by June 10th.
By June 10th, okay, okay.
On June 10th.
Right, okay.
So we make our report on the 13th. We will send out a notice to all council members asking them to give us their questions and potential revisions, which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But then that will go into our report. So we need to work backwards from the calendar for the amount of time we need for the report, which I would assume, how long did it take last year, Takia?
Well, you had like 20-some meetings last
Like
year.
22, 24 meetings. We
I'm
have
hoping we're
10
gonna have
here.
less, yeah. I think, I agree. Less is more.
I actually think you had your last one in June.
Well, I would think from our last working meeting, we need at least a week to do the report. So that would mean that we should be done with our work by the 3rd of May, which is less than a month.
Or why okay. Or the 6th of May, that gives us another,
Which is the Wednesday.
6th of May is a Monday.
yeah. I mean, you're cutting yourself down to 3 weeks.
Well,
And one of those I'm not here for, but, you know.
right, well,
Well, let's see what dates we can come up with. I
Right.
mean, if we're going to be meeting, what, twice a week? We don't have 5 weeks, that's for sure. Maybe 3 times a week.
yeah. Well, but now, Teresa, you had said something about costs of having all these meetings is, so maybe we should have fewer, longer meetings.
Well, that's what I was.
Paid hourly.
Well, I was going to suggest we have full day meetings and then,
Oh, wait. Yes.
When are you away?
23rd through the 28th.
Oh, no.
And you're going to be out when?
The 29th or so, shoulder?
I'm going to Legislature.
Well, I can see how we can get in at least 5 days.
Hey, guys, I can do it.
If we, can we do full days? Starting
Guess
next
so.
week?
I don't really want to talk about it with the mics on. I don't wanna-
No.
I mean, just
Never
on,
mind why, but
Yeah,
can we have full days? That's what we're trying to schedule.
Starting
Never
soon.
mind why. Can we have full day meetings?
Another issue with full days is Jody has other work to do, things that have to be done daily, like cash movements and things like that. So you do full days.
Well, I'm thinking full days as opposed to late afternoons into evenings, trying to, but this is
I don't.
crunch time, I'm afraid. I don't-
So, yeah, and I don't mind, putting in a long meeting, 4 to 6 hours a day, as long as I don't have 10 of them between now and then. If you can whittle it down to fewer, like 4
9.
longer meetings,
Like
that would
9.
help.
Do you have to be here for all of these meetings?
I would think so.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean,
Or
the
could you have
capital,
it-
well, if it's capital in nature, Katie knows a lot
But
more
we
about the
have Katie
capital.
now,
But
so-
if it's the operating, I would definitely need to be here, so,
Okay.
you know.
Well, can we start by scheduling the first meeting as outlined here? Overview of the budget ordinance, related legislation, operating budget, and revenue projections.
Well, I think we're going to have to add more.
More
More to that agenda, because we don't have enough time with both of your schedules to get all of this in,
Well,
unless we have longer meetings, or we're going to be meeting virtually daily starting from now.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Can we start scheduling
Well,
meetings?
so-
And on days when we can do
So
full
your
days?
time is the 29th for 10 days? 29 April,
Stitches out.
and yours is, starts when?
23rd through the 28th.
The 23rd through the 28th, and then immediately Fred is gone.
And then you'll be sick after that, so, I mean, you know. we
I'm
can
getting
wipe
sick
out the whole
right now.
committee. Okay. So can we meet as early as this Friday, 2 days?
I won't be here Friday, but that won't necessarily mean.
I mean, I'm just trying to get us
You
started.
were trying to get
so
some
we can-
vacation, weren't you?
Sorry.
I have at least one appointment on Friday, and I wouldn't have time to prepare. I wanted to get through this projection thing first,
Yeah.
so you have more information to look at when, so I would prefer to wait till next week to start, but early next week would be all right.
And I would really encourage you guys, get some little flag thingies, right? And get some flags, little sticky flags. Read through the documents first. You're not going to have a chance to read through the documents before Friday. Read through them. So then that'll help you and flag what jumps out at you or what you have more questions on or what additional information you'd like. You can even, if it's additional information you'd like, send us an email and we can come with it in hand and be prepared.
Well, and that's good, and that's, I mean, that's great, but I think we can do something. I would just hate to not get anything done, especially now that we have even more of a crunch than I thought. Could we get the capital budget? I'm just looking at our list of things here, and maybe Katie could do that on Friday for us.
Would-
Capital budget and CIP
So
review.
we would want
You
to
guys-
have, who else would we want to involve? David,
Can't be
Cheryl, we'd have to see who all is available.
Okay.
Because there would be more than just Katie to go
Are
to.
you guys not eager to start on Friday?
I can do it.
I
I don't even look at my schedule for Friday.
will have a hard time doing it. I've got a
This mic is not on.
doctor.
Can you turn your mic on,
that's
please?
For surgery, appointment at 10:30, and then I guess I could call off.
Mic on.
Maybe in the afternoon,
Okay.
or,
My physical therapy is at 2:15, but
Oh.
I guess I could probably change that.
it's
Well,
like
I'm free
Friday's-
Friday afternoon if we can do, we can get going on the Capitol with Katie. You're not here Friday?
Fred, is there time, do you have any time on Friday?
I could change my physical therapy, I suppose, in the afternoon.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your desire to try to get us going, but it's beginning to sound like Monday's the earliest. We have audit committee in the morning, right?
Yep.
I have Eastport Leadership lunch at noon, but I can meet after audit committee and then again later on in the afternoon. We can,
That has Jody in the audit committee and then these meetings all day.
I know,
Okay.
I get it. I think we need 2 finance directors.
That would be nice.
We don't
And
have
does
a whole
it-
lot of choices, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
I've got
I
a
mean,
doctor's appointment at 2:30.
2:30 on Monday?
With my cardiologist.
I have rehab, but I'll gladly cancel my rehab.
Yeah. Well, can we?
Friday and Monday, but
All right, can we try to schedule something at 10:30 Monday going to noon?
What are we doing at
well,
10?
what,
Well, 10 is fine, whenever, when's the audit committee going to be over? You do it right after, well, that's
8
Jody.
to 9:30, that we never quite make, but
So 10 to 12 on Monday?
10 to what?
10 to 12 Monday?
Can we go longer?
Well, I've got a meeting that is my leadership lunch in Eastport.
Well, can we break for lunch and come back in the
Yeah.
afternoon?
Well, except Jody's got stuff to do. And Fred can't do it. in
If
the
it's capital, if you start with a revenue overview in the morning, Jody, are you available in the morning, right after audit committee for a revenue overview?
No, the auditors are hanging around for an audit prelim. I can probably change that, though.
Yeah, change that.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, we're going to do their planning
So
meeting
we
for
could
next
do a
year.
revenue overview first, and then Jody could go do finance director work.
All right,
I
so-
can walk you through, what else does she have, does Takia have on that besides revenue overview?
Budget ordinances and related
Okay,
legislation.
so I'll walk you through the ordinances and the related legislation so you can see how they all interact with each other. What's next?
And operating budget, but I think we just kind of
You just did a whole bunch of that.
yeah.
we did
So
most of it.
the next one is debt affordability and capital budget and CIP review.
Right, so,
Yeah.
we can,
So we can do
I
those
could,
in the
Jody,
afternoon?
yeah, we can handle that.
Yeah, and I
Because
think
I can be here, if it's Monday, I can be here. David, I'll check with David, provided David Gerald can be here.
Mm-hmm.
And Katie, you're here Monday? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and even if we break for a couple hours, that gives me
Right.
time to do anything that comes up on my desk, and then come back in the afternoon and do these bits and try to get through the CIP and debt affordability on Monday.
Okay,
Okay.
so we're talking 9:30 to 12 or 10 to 12?
10 to
And
12.
then 1:30 to whatever?
Yeah, I won't be here. I won't be here in the afternoon.
Oh, at all?
And I've got a
It's up.
cardiology.
Okay.
To be cleared by my cardiologist. That appointment's at 2:30.
All
I
right.
could be here briefly at 1:30 to maybe 2.
How about Tuesday? What are we looking like?
Is that Dr. Hutch?
No,
No.
Tuesday's a much better day. I'm completely clear all day.
Okay,
I can't do...
Monday.
Well, we just did Monday.
10 to
No,
12, I'm
I have
out
something to say about Monday.
Oh, okay, sorry.
On the calendar, it has Civil Service Board from 8 to 12 in this room.
Well, either we or they will have to meet someplace.
We can't meet anybody.
No, we have to be here. But are they televised?
I don't think
No.
so.
No. So maybe they
They
can,
can meet in the mayor's office.
Well-
The mayor's conference room.
will you work on that for us, please?
Sure.
Yeah, because we are really in a crunch all of a sudden. All right.
So
So
we're
what,
just going to do morning on Monday?
right. Well, no, I thought we had,
Fred
yes.
just said he can't come.
Fred can't come in the afternoon, right. So now,
So we'll just do
Tuesday,
Wednesday
I
to
have a
12.
doctor's appointment mid-afternoon, but I'm free otherwise.
I am not free until 1:30 on Tuesday.
All right, Wednesday. We have a finance committee, we can't do it.
Well, I think that's, and then it's environmental matters after that, for those of you
Right.
on that. But maybe we should try to do a long day on Wednesday for sure,
Okay,
at least until 3 o'clock, from 10 until 3 or 9 until 3. Much as I hate mornings.
that works for me.
I can do that. I have to be gone a few minutes before 3, but
Okay. Here, you're getting this down?
So did you guys plan something for Tuesday?
Passed over.
No.
You passed
No.
it. Okay, I was gonna say, because that's Mike
So then
Bush's
for
funeral, if any
Wednesday-
of you were going to that.
Yeah.
What do you want on the agenda?
Well, let's get the dates first, and then we can come back.
Yeah, right.
What about Thursday? We have work session.
And I've got an appointment in the middle of the day, so I won't be able to do that. I can't, Thursday's not a good day for me.
Friday is Good Friday. Are we closed on Friday?
Yes. Good Friday, we're closed.
Okay, so Friday's out. There's no time, is there something that we can do without you on Thursday?
Well,
If
I
you-
could do 9 to 12 on Friday, but,
City's
closed.
closed.
okay. all right.
So what, Thursday, what happened to Thursday?
Jody said she's not available, but I'm asking if there's something we can do. Because I have a whole day Thursday, that's our work
I'm
session.
free in the morning,
I have an appointment in the middle of the day. That's why I
Okay.
said I can start and leave and come back or
Okay.
whatever.
I could do the morning.
All
All
right,
right,
Well, the other thing is, if you're
9:30.
doing department reviews, I don't know whether you are, whether you want the department heads or you don't, but if you're doing department reviews, those days can be more centric to the departments
right,
justifying their budgets than the need for Jody.
okay.
so those,
Yeah,
after we
to the
get these
extent we don't
dates-
have to, you know, have, I mean, if,
Yeah,
like Katie
you make
could fill in
notes
just
when
to
she's not-
brief
Yeah,
you.
someone could come
available so we
take
can make
notes,
sure
but
to
I
get to
just, if
departments
you had a
and-
question that I knew off the top of my head on how we pulled the numbers
and
together,
that's-
even if the departments are here, they may not know where, that number, what's that number represent?
All right, so Thursday, we're starting at 10, 9:30? 10?
9:30 or 10, either.
Well, you tell me,
9:30.
all right?
Till 12.
Well, so that was the next question, is what's your availability in the afternoon?
Because if we have department heads come in that day, then Jody doesn't have to be here.
We shall be nearby.
Yeah.
So how long are we running that day?
If we have an eat-in lunch, somebody will go to Jimmy John's, or they'll deliver it to
Yeah,
us.
physical
We can
therapy
go
at
in-
1:30 and then the work session at 3.
So do you want to do 9:30 to 12?
Yeah.
Or 1,
Well, I can do it, but Fred's got physical therapy.
at 1:30, right?
Yeah.
So can we,
1 is
I'm
fine
just
with
trying to
me.
get us in. If we, 1, I would say 1, and then physical therapy, you can get there in a half hour.
About 2 hours,
I'm talking
no,
about
to get
getting
there.
there from here.
15 to 20 minutes. It's
Okay.
out on Riva Road.
Why won't you? So that's
That's the
Thursday, the 18th.
What are you going to?
Hmm?
What did you
Monday the
decide, 12 or
22nd.
1?
Till 1 o'clock.
Okay, and then the next one is Monday, the 22nd.
We're not doing anything on Friday? Oh, that's a holiday.
Friday's a holiday.
Right.
And then Monday is Passover.
It's not a city holiday, though.
Well, but we do try to,
Remember we went through this last year? Remember we went through this last year?
I don't. With whom? Rob? Who did we go through it with?
With the
It was Jared.
holidays.
Oh, it was Jarrett last year.
Monday is the 22nd?
I was just trying to get another date in.
Well, I'm free all day Monday.
Me too.
I'm free Monday morning, Monday afternoon,
How late can you go on Monday?
physical therapy at 2. Another more different physical therapy at 5.
So can we go to 1?
Yep.
What's the
Okay,
start
till
time?
1, 9:30?
All right. Oops. Edit. I assume I'm putting this on my calendar and then you're going to do it. Oh, well. All right.
So how many dates do we have?
4.
Only 4 dates? Man, all that work for only 4 dates?
Yeesh.
Okay, but they're long days, or at least half days.
Yeah.
My mic is really up loud.
Can
Tuesday, are we on Tuesday now?
do Tuesday, I'm good for most of the day. Wednesday,
Building Board of Appeals is in here in the afternoon if they're actually being heard. And are you going to the HACA board meeting?
I am not going to be here.
Oh, you're not going to be
On
here?
the 20
Oh, so we're not, 23rd, all
Through the
right.
28th, I am gone.
Oh, God.
So,
And
on you guys.
You have building board of appeals and then court wardens will be in here later on.
9:30 to,
we're on Tuesday?
1:30.
You can't do 1:30?
Building Board of Appeals is in here at 1:30.
Are we talking about the 23rd now? And you're just not going to be at the meetings then?
9:30 to
Okay.
1.
I just was
Nope,
curious.
they're going to carry on.
Well, what choice? 9:30 to 1
That's why I
again?
was trying to get enough dates in, but, you know.
So Tuesdays, it's not till 1:30, 1 o'clock.
To 1, right. All right,
Free most of the day on the 24th.
Did we settle on something for the 23rd?
9:30 to 1.
9:30 to 1.
Okay, is it possible, I don't know, I don't want to have to come every day, if possible.
It's not possible?
No, I mean, you're doing Monday, then Tuesday, and now we're talking about Wednesday. Is there any ability to have some open time in there?
Yeah. Well,
I
we're
would
just trying-
appreciate it. I mean, I'll do what I can, but
Yeah, well,
it's,
so right now, I think we're trying to just get some
Thursday.
dates when we can do things, space, say. So, can we, Jody, can we go through it and then we'll work back and figure out how to give you a light?
yeah.
So we have the 22nd. Did you pick time for the 23rd?
We're done with the
Why
23rd.
won't this,
So maybe
Give me
we
a
should
break,
skip to the
Cameron.
25th.
9:30.
Or do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
all right, so on the 24th, Wednesday the 24th, I have a doctor's appointment at 9:30, but I'm free, 11 through for the rest of the day.
I'm pretty good the rest of the day also.
So,
Got
we'll,
a doc's appointment at 10:30, but I don't know what that's for. I can reschedule this.
Could that be a preliminary? Fred,
I'm sorry?
could that be a preliminary appointment?
No, I've already got that coming up Friday
Yeah.
with it.
so what are we doing? We're blocking out 11 to what?
You tell me, you're the boss.
Well, I put in 3. 4 hours of this is a lot.
It's an awful lot. We might take a little lunch break in there. I
Right.
would think.
So what,
You're going to have to order lunch for them because they won't be able to coordinate that.
It's my birthday.
Oh, that's your
really?
birthday?
well,
Buy
then we
you
should
lunch.
go all day.
Oh, we did for my wife's birthday Monday.
All right, so again, right now, we're just blocking out availability of time. What does Thursday look like?
Good, except I've got Rotary.
So do 9:30 to noon,
Well, yeah, I gotta be there around noon.
9:30 to 11:30?
Afternoon, 24th.
Yeah,
What were the times you blocked out for Wednesday?
they're the week of the 22nd still.
Let me get my,
Wait a minute, he's
11 to
doing
3.
Thursday now.
11 to 3.
save. All right, so Thursday, I had 11 to 3, yes. And again, we're just blocking out time, so Jody, don't have a heart
Both
attack.
Wednesday and Thursday, both 11 to 3.
No,
What's
Thursday,
Thursday?
Thursday I had 9 to noon. You have Rotary at lunch? Right, so 9 to 11:30.
9 to 11:30 on Thursday, the 25th?
That's,
I could do it
okay.
starting again at 1:30 or 2.
Well, I can do that as well. So, but we have staff that have things they need to do too. Save.
Until when? Till 8?
Holy Christ. Somehow I just got
I'm
scheduled.
not going to be here. How about 9?
I want the world to hear you
want
say that.
What is going
These
on?
mics are picking up. They'll hear me. There's no question about that.
30 to 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I'm just still struggling to get. Okay.
Don't forget that
What day are we on now?
Thursday.
Thursday, I had us down from 9 to 11:30.
I thought the afternoon, I thought you said you were free.
Well, I can do, yeah. You said 1:30 to 4?
I was going to say 3:30. I'm pretty sure it'll
Okay.
be beat by then. If not before.
Somebody oughta. All right, so what time we're doing it from 1:30 to,
3:30.
okay? Come on.
I get physical therapy at 10:30.
All right, let's see if I got that right. 1:30 to 3:30?
On Thursday.
Right. Friday?
I've got physical therapy from 10:30 to whenever.
So in the afternoon?
Yeah, 1:30 to 4. 3:30. It's Friday afternoon. We're not going to.
Yeah, we can just go right from here to McGarvey's. Now you're talking.
That's a better idea.
So 1:30 to 4:30 or 3:30?
I'd say 3:30 with traffic. 3:45.
It'll still be happy hour
Where are you
somewhere.
going?
To a lacrosse game.
A lacrosse game?
Uh-huh.
All right. I think that's now.
Okay, so what happens
now
to
we
the next
turn-
week? Now it's my turn, right?
So Monday, I'm free all day.
Me
On the
too.
29th, oh no, we have leadership,
We have
council
council
lunch.
You have council meeting, and you have your lunches.
So do we want to try to meet
I
before?
plan on being there.
Okay, so you won't be a host.
So I can meet in the morning,
Yeah, me too.
what, 9:30 to 12?
Sure.
So what I'm proposing, committee members, is that we'll block out these times, and then Takia can coordinate with Jody and Teresa to figure out what, and Katie to figure out what does and doesn't work with their schedule. We'll take this template that we have for the meetings, and we're going to have to add some things, certainly time to develop the report. So anyway, let me get back to this.
We have finance, I'm not available on Tuesday in the morning, but on Wednesday, we have finance already, so just expand that meeting.
Right.
From like 10 until 1 or something.
So Tuesday, Monday, we're going from 9:30 to noon?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
council lunch.
Gosh, why are you doing this to me?
I didn't write all this, I'm counting on you to send us all this.
On Wednesday, the 1st, you want to do your regular start time, or are you doing 10?
That was Monday, the
Oh my
29th.
goodness, I have book club that day
And I have
at
a,
my house.
so you're saying Tuesday you can't do anything?
No, that's Wednesday afternoon.
Oh, what about Tuesday? I've got a 10.
Tuesday afternoon, I'm good.
I'm good in the afternoon, too.
From like 12, at 1:30 on. But I had suggested that we expand the already existing finance committee meeting on the 1st. From
Yeah,
like
no,
10
I'm just
until-
trying to get my phone to pay attention to me.
Tuesday, you doing, what time, start time?
1:30.
To
1:30 to 4?
4.
Save.
And then Wednesday, 10 until 1:30? Or 2?
Sure.
I have got to prepare for my book club that day. I don't know when I'm going to do it overnight. I won't sleep.
So 10. Okay.
Maybe you all will
to-
finish it up and we don't have to have. a
Yeah,
meeting.
Fred and I will
Could you
knock it
repeat
out. for you.
Tuesday, please?
Hmm?
Could you repeat Tuesday, the 30th?
Tuesday.
1:30 to 4. You're welcome.
Was Wednesday decided?
Start time at 10.
Thank you.
10, yeah. Okay. Wednesday,
That was what we just did, expanding the existing finance committee.
oh, yeah, okay, so
But what
Thursday.
did you want to go to?
So,
We went from 10 to 2.
Okay.
Jimmy Johns is gonna love us. Aye.
Thursday, I have the whole day free.
Okay, so 7:30 till
Yeah, right.
9:30?
If you must.
10? You tell me.
9:30 is fine. I'll struggle with it. You will too.
That's why I love when I have to come to meetings that you're in charge, because I know you're not going to give me a clock.
So what are we doing, 9:30 till 6 o'clock?
Yeah, till we get it done. I mean, geez, because then how much time, well, we still have another week and a half.
Yeah, but we gotta leave time for writing the report.
Right.
All right,
So we'll have the whole next week
all right.
to work on our report. So do we need to schedule?
I was gonna say, I think now what we need to do is get this coordinated with Jody and Teresa and Katie's schedule, see what ones get knocked off because of that, and then we can,
So it's
Come back and figure out-
Thursday's end date, end time is what?
pardon me?
4, what do we say,
Thursday.
4?
He said to 6, so I don't know.
I did it till
Only if
5,
it ends downtown.
5:30.
5:30?
All right.
That's the second, right?
Yes.
So, Takia, what I think I'll ask each of the other committee members, and I will look at this schedule and we'll add other things, like we know we need report building time. And then we can coordinate calendars with everybody else, come back when we get a calendar locked in, and then start allocating topics, which again will depend in many cases on availability of staff.
So when's the first meeting? On Monday, the 15th?
Yep. Think so.
From 10 to 12.
So shouldn't we, this is the last meeting before then, right? So
Yeah, but
shouldn't we say what we want to be
I
on
thought
that
we
We
agenda?
already did that.
Oh, we
Yeah.
did that,
Yeah.
okay,
So it'll be revenue overview, debt affordability, and CIP review.
okay.
So to the extent that this, and I really do want to give the departments a heads up about the kinds of things we want to talk about to the extent we can. I think that's fair to them.
Can I follow up on the Monday meeting? It's 10 to 12, and I think that a revenue overview, you wanted Teresa to cover the ordinances as well.
Right.
And debt affordability and CIP, but I don't think we're going to get through all the CIP in that time
No,
frame. So that's
I'm
probably
sure we
going to
won't.
carry over.
Right.
Originally, we had 2 days set aside for it.
Yeah, so it might continue into the next meeting for CIP, because
Well,
that's
and
going to be a big one.
and actually, it has a continuation on this outline, capital and CIP carryover.
All right.
So then the other thing Takia, once we get the dates, if you can contact the departments and alert them, or someone will contact the departments and alert them to a potential date. Meantime, we're going to work on any kinds of questions we know we want to ask in advance, to give them that courtesy of a heads up, and so we don't waste everybody's time. And if there's a department we don't need to talk to, we don't have to talk to them, unless they want to beg us for audience time.
So am I looking at the schedule? It looks like not until the third meeting will we hear from any department heads.
I mean, depending on how you change it. See, like, you've already changed it to include these two on the first meeting.
Yeah, well, we've had the budget overview.
Right.
The operating budget overview.
Right. So what you've changed for the first meeting, it will be revenue overview, debt affordability, and CIP, which both of those were
Right.
for the second meeting. So that's now moved to the first meeting.
Okay, but we already know we're not going to have time to do all of that. So
Right.
that's going to
No, you're
carry
not gonna-
over
right, CIP.
into the second meeting.
Right.
So I'm saying the third meeting, it looks like, is when we're going to start seeing departments.
Unless you put it on for the second meeting. It's up to you.
Okay, but I just want, so the department heads will have some idea of.
Well, Teresa will notify them.
I know, but I'm saying for our scheduling purposes.
Oh, well,
But, okay,
you guys were gonna revamp it.
well, okay. I don't know
So,
whether.
I mean, this is still in a state of flux. I think Takia has already done a great job of giving us and I guess Jody and Takia worked on this, a sense of.
Okay.
And then we need to figure out how this is going to interleave with Jody and Katie's schedule, with Teresa's schedule, and then we can figure out the department head might not be able to do it on the day that we have available, so we can
They can swap out.
swap that around.
Okay.
All right. I'm tired already.
Oh, my goodness. What did we do for Monday, the 15th?
That's this Monday,
I know. What time?
10 to 12.
We won't be here.
Why?
It's Mike Bush's funeral.
Oh, no. Tuesday.
Oh, that's right.
Well,
What are we
do we
doing
do
for
for
Tuesday?
You didn't. Tuesday's not, you didn't do Tuesday.
All right.
Okay. We knew that. Okay.
Writing to David Gerald about CIP, so you're looking at Monday and Tuesday.
No, we didn't.
I'm sorry, Monday and Wednesday?
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
If it's
Wednesday starts at
Wednesday,
9.
we're in Brussels.
Teresa, and this, are we sending flowers from the city? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you're taking up a collection,
Yeah.
I can give you money. Is this yours or mine?
Look at it. He's quite the elementary school
You
kid.
know,
He's got all his
We're
different
gonna
color
have to
markers
do
all
this
lined
on
up.
better paper, because my magic markers are bleeding through.
He's got all of his colors lined up.
Can we talk about televising this? And whenever we set these meetings, so the video budget, as you know, was reduced this year. And in 18, there had also been a part-time employee that was a city employee who is not in 19. So the video budget's drying up quickly. We've already limited it to standing committees and council meetings. But even with that, with all these dates you guys have, they're going to need additional money to get through the end of the year. So I know you had purposely reduced that budget. But I can transfer money from the police department into the video services budget if you want to ensure that all of your meetings are televised, provided they have enough notice for it, as well as all the other standing committees from now till the end of the year.
But from my point of view, I can't tell you the number of citizens who watch it
Yeah.
and complain when it isn't there. And I think people from the newspaper do that from time to time too. So I would certainly be in favor of making that transfer.
Is there another option? And I don't disagree, and I think we're required to film, tape our
I don't
meetings.
think you are. I don't think you're required to tape them. You're required to have
Okay,
minutes of your meetings.
Okay, well, okay. Is there another option? You know, and when the budget was reduced, I think we were following the guidance of department heads.
No,
Okay, well,
no, and
We're gonna have to transfer
we,
some
the
then.
administration, objected to the budget reduction.
and so whose choice was it?
City councils.
Okay,
A majority of the city council voted to reduce the budget.
okay.
Because we don't always know what we're doing.
Imagine that.
So I will transfer those funds in.
Thank you.
You should make a note of that, though.
That we asked for.
I would have to report it to you in the city manager reports at the next meeting after it happens. And so when I do that, I'll look for your support.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I thought this was a nice start, people. Thank you.